Okay, welcome back to Chapter 2. We're going to be working with applications and problem solving. Solve applied problems by translating equations. Guys, this is still work. So there are 5 steps to dealing with problem solving in algebra. Familiarize yourself is the first one. Translate the problem to an equation. Solve the equation. Check your answer, and then state the answer to the problem clearly. And that's where a lot of times you have problems. So if a problem is given in words, read it carefully, reread the problem, perhaps aloud. Try to verbalize the problem as if you were explaining it to someone. Pick variables, choose variables to represent the unknown. Clearly state what the variable represents. Be descriptive. Make sure you understand all important words. Like, for example, let L equal length in centimeters, D equal distance in miles, and so on. You'll see I'm pretty consistent. I usually use the first letter to represent my variable. Make a drawing and label it with known information. Use specific units if given. Also indicate unknown information. Then the next step is to find more information. Look up formulas, definitions if you're not familiar. Just consult the internet, the reference library, and anything that we do in here you will already know. Okay? Create a table that lists all the information you have available. Look for patterns that may help in the translation of an equation. Those are like those word problems, or those charts with the words like for addition means some more, or add, or subtraction means we took away, those types of things. And then think of possible answers and check and guess. Note the manner in which the guess is checked. These are a lot of wordy things for things that we'll be doing, but we're going to practice quite a few quite a few. A 480-inch piece of pipe is cut into 2 pieces. One piece is 3 times the length of the other. Find the length of each pipe. Now, with the whole total pipe, so if I'm going to make a drawing, the total pipe is 480 inches, this whole length. Okay. Now, if it's cut, and notice it says that it's cut in 2 pieces. So somewhere in here I'm going to have a line, and it's not cut equally because it didn't say those words. So one is 3 times some unknown length, and then the other one is that unknown length. So that is how we come up with part of our equation. So we're familiarizing ourselves with it. So now if we translate this into an equation, I'm going to say 3x plus x equals 480. Next step would be to solve, so that gives me 4x. Whoops, that's not an x. Equals 480. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So now x equals 120 inches. Do we have the answer to the problem? No, we don't. They wanted to know the length of each piece. So if you have 3 times 120, and then plus the 120, that should give us 480. We're just going to check as we go. What is 3 times 120? Very good. 360 plus 120 does equals 480. So the 2 lengths for the pipe is 120 inches, and the length of the other pipe is 360 inches. 360 inches. All right. For this problem, we have a Digicon Prints digital photos for 12 cents each, plus $3.29 shipping and handling. Your weekly budget for the school yearbook is $22. How many prints can you have made for $22? So we need to look and see what we can do. So you can do different kinds of things. I'm just going to play with some numbers in my head. So what if we said the yearbook staff took 220 pictures? Could we get them printed? Probably not. So let's think about it. We don't know how, because we're looking for how many prints we can make, how many pictures we can have printed. So let's say if we have 0.12 cents times each picture, right? Then we have to have, because we don't know, and then we have to add $3.29 in shipping. But we can't go over $22. So that's what we have going for us so far. So I'm going to translate that into an equation. So our shipping's not going to change. Our amount per picture is not going to change, but our number of pictures could change. That's what we're looking for when we can't go over $22. And I'm going to drop the zeros because just 22 means the same thing. So, in order to carry out, that means we work the problem. We've translated it into equation, so now we're going to work the problem. So I'm going to subtract 329 from both sides. So now I have 0.12 times our number of pictures. And then we have 22 minus $3.29. So it gives me $18.71. I'm going to divide both sides by 0.12. So the number of pictures that we could get probably is going to equal somewhere around 55.9. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. You want to say 156 because you just want to round because you can have part of a picture. But 156 would probably take us over the amount, remember? So we have to be careful. So we can only take 155 pictures or print 155 pictures per week. So be very, very careful. And you can go back and check. Let's see. We say $3.29 plus 12 cents per picture, and we said 155 equals $22. That's what we're trying to see because we can't go over that amount. So when you carry out your calculations, you get $21.89, which is less than $22, so we are good. So that's how many pictures they can take. Consecutive integers. This is probably one of my favorite parts, consecutive integers. So if you start with 16 and you add 1 to it, that gives you 17. And then if you start with, if you continue and then you have, and you add 1 to that 17, that gives you 18. But how many spaces are you originally from the 16? You're originally 2 spaces, right? So 16 is our first number. Our second number is our first number plus 1. Our third number is our first number plus 2 because we're 2 places over. And it just continues on. Now if you have even integers, what are we counting by? 2? We are. So x is 16. 18 is really x plus 2 because that's the next one. And then what would 20 be? X plus 4. So we're adding that. And so on. Now what's funny is when you think of odd integers, you don't think of counting by 2, but you really are counting by 2. You're just looking at the odd numbers. So it stays the same thing. It's x plus 2, and then x plus 4, and so on. So be very careful on dealing with consecutive integers. So let's look at this problem. The apartment and Wanda's apartment house are consecutively numbered on each door. The sum of her number and her next door neighbor's number is 723. What are the two numbers? So we need to familiarize. We're looking for door number 1 plus door number 2 equals 723 because we're adding them up. So if we translate, we have x, because it says it's consecutive, plus the next number, which is x plus 1, equals 723. So we're going to carry this out. So I'm going to say, we got to gather like terms. So I have 2x plus 1 equals 723. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. So now I have 2x equals 722. I'm going to divide by 2, and x equals 361. Now, 361 is the first number, okay? So x equaled 361, which was Wanda's door. And then Wanda's neighbor was x plus 1, which is 362, if you plug that in. Think about it. You have 361 plus 1 gives you 362. So Wanda's neighbor. So our final answer is 361 is Wanda's apartment, and her neighbor is 362. Okay, you're constructing a triangular kite. We're making a kite, and most kites are triangles. The second angle of the kite is 3 times as large as the first. The third angle is 10 degrees more than the first. Find the measures of each angle. Now, it didn't tell you what the first one was, so I'm going to assume the first one is always x. So I'm going to draw me a diagram, and I'm going to say the first one is x. Then it said that the second one is 3 times as much as the first one, and then the third one is x plus 10. Now, do y'all remember how many degrees are in a triangle? There are 180 degrees total in a triangle. So if we set up an equation, you have x, that's the first angle, plus the second angle, which is 3x, plus the last angle, which is x plus 10, equals 180 degrees. So now we're going to solve that. So if we have x plus 3x plus x plus 10 equals 180 degrees, I have 1x plus 3x, that gives me 4, plus 1 more gives me 5x plus 10 equals 180 degrees. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. So now I have 5x equals 170. Divide by 5, so x is going to equal 34. So the last thing it says to do is to look at the measurements and to double check. So I'm going to say the first one, x equals 34. The 3x is going to equal 3 times 34, which is 102. And then the fourth x is x plus 10, which is 34 plus 10 equals 44. So that's what our measures appear to be. So now if we add those all up, let's see if we get 180. So 34 plus 102 plus 44 equals 180. So I'm going to say that our angles for each one is 34, 102, and 44. So we completed. Okay, let's look at this problem. The Hicksons are planning to sell their home. If they want to be left with 142, I think that's 142,000. After paying 6% of the selling price to a realtor as a commission, how much must they sell their house for? How much do they sell their house for? So it tells them what their asking price or their bottom line should be on asking for the house. So if we say X is the sale of the house and we want to take away the 6% commission, because you don't get that, that goes to the realtor, and it's 6% of the selling price, and we want to be left with $142,000. Okay? So remember, this is understood that there's a 1. So if we're going to take 0.6 away from 1, we get 0.94 times x equals 142,000. We're going to divide by 9.4. So x equals $151,063.83. So that's what we want to do. And you can go back and check that, plug that back into the equation, or simply just take 151,063.83 and multiply it by 0.06 and see if you are left with at least $142,000. And if you are, then that would be the correct answer. Okay? Because you want to make sure that you wind up with $142,000. We will work some of these examples in class.